Now that we've looked at the highlights, we're going to be looking at some challenging days that we had.
Yeah, so there's a lot to love about Manitoba and all the places we visited on our bikes throughout the last 2 summers that we did it, because this summer we began our Cross Canada tour. But there are challenges to riding across Manitoba. The wind is one of them.
That's what I'm about to explain. The day that we went to Brandon, the wind was blowing so hard that it felt like we were pedaling backwards. I mean, it was ridiculous trying to bike through that.
And it was going uphill.
Yeah, that doesn't help either. That was absolutely absurd. That was easy. One of the hardest days I think we ever had. I mean, it was so difficult that day. My dad and I almost both quit, although we did end up quitting at Brandon, and we actually couldn't even make it to Souris that day because of how wiped I was by the time I got to Brandon. But there is a second day that could overtake that day, and that would actually be the days going to Steinbach, Morton, and Winkler, because of the fact that, number one, we didn't get a good sleep at all in Morris because the train track is right there and we heard the train going through. Second off, the sunburn that I got from that was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, as I recall, our intention when we went to Brandon was to go to Souris. And I would have been fine going to Souris that day.
I was not.
But by the time we hit the outlet mall there on the south side of Brandon, you just couldn't continue for some reason. You were totally exhausted. I mean, we rested for a little while. We hydrated, and I don't know. I just remember you telling me you weren't able to go another. I don't know what your problem was that day.
I just couldn't go anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. We kind of called it a day in Brandon that day, and we did go on to Souris, but we took a vehicle there and drove back. So that was a very, very challenging day, and that was a long day too. We left. I remember leaving very early in the morning because I thought we could actually beat the wind when we turned south on Highway 10. The wind was not exactly for us or against us. It came on the side, but it still was a bit of a hindrance. And I thought if we got to Minnedosa early enough, we could beat the wind, but the wind began to blow like really hard by like 9 in the morning.
Something like that.
Yeah, and I think we started biking by about 7.
I don't know. We biked early, but it wasn't early enough to beat the wind, and it was very difficult to get through that wind. I mean, we've done that stretch before in like an hour, and that took us like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, no, it's a little more than an hour to go to Nipois.
Well, I'm talking about from Nipois to Minnedosa.
Oh yeah, that stretch in there for sure. Oh yeah. That's when the wind really picked up.
Yeah,
like really hard. Plus you're going uphill basically. I think the elevation there is quite.
It's quite high.
Yeah, it's quite high. Even though you don't notice it, it is quite high due to the riding mountain range there. So, yeah, it was a very difficult day. But that was what episode was that?
That was episode 57.
57, yeah. So one of the most recent ones that we posted. My probably most, wasn't really a difficult day. It was really a sad day. It was the second day that we were in Winnipeg, or the first day that we began to ride around Winnipeg. And we were going to do all this filming in Winnipeg and showcase all the highlights of Winnipeg. And
snap.
Yeah, we first made it to Assiniboine Park.
That's true.
And we were just going to get lunch. It was a Tuesday, and we wanted to get tacos because it's Taco Tuesday. So there was a taco time not too far from Assiniboine Park, and we were going to go get our lunch and take it back to the park. And as we were doing that, yeah, your derailleur mount snapped. and the derailleur went right through the spokes, broke a bunch of spokes.
Broke the chain.
Yeah, it even broke the chain. That's
so my
right.
derailleur hanger broke, snapped.
Yeah, and I just put on a brand new chain, was it?
Yeah, it was a brand new chain.
Yeah, like it, well, I mean, we had put on maybe 1,000 kilometers or something, but I put on a brand new chain that spring, like before we did our trip. And yeah, there was more than, it was almost $400 damage to the bike. So thankfully, there were 3 bike shops nearby. The furthest one was, I think it was 5 kilometers away.
Yep.
And of course, the first 2 bike shops did not have the parts. And so we walked our bikes all the way to, was it
Olympia
Ski and Cycle on Portage Avenue. They got us in right away. We told them we were from out of town. I can't say anything bad about that bike shop. They really went beyond the call of duty to not only take the bike, fix it right away, but they did everything before the end of the day, and we got going by about 4:30, almost 5. Then we made it to BDI, got a milkshake, and came back home. So it was a really costly day because those milkshakes are quite costly. I think a large milkshake there is, I don't know, $7-8.
Yeah, it was not cheap.
Yeah, so it's like a once a year thing to do that. But yeah, it was a very, very difficult day to start your day out and have all these repairs done to your bike and sort of lose, well, we pretty much lost more than a half a day. And that put us back, that set us back. So you can check that out. That's episode, what is it?
47.
47.
Mine is 57.
Yeah, 57. So those are the some of the challenges that we've experienced in season 2 of the Mega Manitoba Movie. We'll put some links to these videos at the end here, and I'm sure we'll splice this all together so that you can take a good look at what happened to us in the second season of the Mega Manitoba Movie.